Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Juan Rodas. Today we have legendary center back for the United States once again, Jimmy Conrad. Conrandinho, how are you today?
Dude, I'm always good. Look at this face. Look at this hair. It's all good.
Perfect. And obviously, to start this new interview, if you could talk to us about, when you signed with Chivas USA, how was that feeling? So coming back to Cali, maybe closer to where you started off. When you grew up.
No, it was exciting for me and somewhat bittersweet because I had put in 8 years with Kansas City, and they didn't tell me that they were going to let me go. Mm-hmm. Nobody had the decency, just a basic human decency, to tell me. After being captain for 4 or 5 years, for doing so much in the community, nobody from the club told me that I was going to be let go at the end of my contract. So I thought that was disappointing, I guess. Time has passed and it is what it is now. But at the time I was a little hurt about that, given what I had sacrificed on the fields and all that good stuff. But when I got to move past that, going back to play in LA, where I did grow up, was a big deal, where my family could come out every weekend and watch me play, or every other weekend, right? But and then the coaching staff too, Robin Fraser and Greg Vanny, who they're really talented guys. Greg coaches Toronto FC when they won all the trophies and stuff a few seasons ago. He was the coach. Robin Fraser was the assistant at that time. And now Robin's the head coach of the Colorado Rapids. So, it's a really good time to see them evolve as coaches as they started to make the transition from playing to coaching. So it was an interesting time. And just with Chivas in general, you could tell that the owner, Jorge Vergara, wasn't as interested in the Chivas USA team. Obviously, he loved Guadalajara with all of his heart. But I think he just got a little bit disillusioned with how it was going with Chivas USA. Mm-hmm. And it was an interesting time to be a player on the team when you didn't have an owner that cared all that much. Yeah. He wasn't investing a lot of money into it. Unfortunately, though, I got hurt I got a concussion 2 games into the season, and I ended up retiring 3 or 4 months later because I had a headache that wouldn't go away. So there's a lot of bittersweetness around it, but I will say going through that process, kind of coming to the end of your career, going through, we had our second baby, that type of stuff, was really neat to be at home for, to be around my family, my parents and my siblings. My wife had a lot of friends. She went to UCLA. That's where we met. So that was cool. That was a cool part of it, and something we'll always cherish. And that turned into an opportunity when I did retire to work with Fox, which gave me a kind of an in with the media stuff. And then that turned into me going to New York City with the family for 5 years with Kick TV and YouTube and all that. So it all worked out the way it was going to. I think the people that have the most success are the ones that know how to adapt and be fluid and flexible no matter what's thrown at them, and how to deal with adversity. And I think as a family, we've done that pretty well. And we see life as an adventure. You know what I mean? It just we try to look at it all very positively.
For sure. And obviously, so the main reason why you retired was because of the head concussion that you received?
Yeah, so that was one of a lot that I had. And I had told my wife and myself that if I had gotten another one that was pretty severe, that I would stop playing. I was 34 at that point. My youngest daughter was going to be born 2 months later. I wasn't going to get called into the national team anymore. Chivas was in a rebuilding phase. The organization didn't even know if it would exist, in a few years. So it just felt like, what am I playing for? What's the point? I don't need to be a hero at this point. I can be smart. I can try to save some brain cells and maybe parlay that into something different. But it was really hard. It took me a couple months. Obviously, I had a headache, so you kind of knew that it wasn't safe to play. But you still try to push through it. That's all you know. But a head injury is a lot different than like a thigh injury or a calf injury, right? You got to be pretty smart, and it's hard. It feels invisible at times. Very similar in some ways. Kind of this invisible virus that we're dealing with now, where you don't know what's safe and what's not. You don't know where to push. It's really uncertain. And so, the coaching staff, who had been friends for a long time and had seen me, kind of rise up and go from a player that didn't get drafted to making it all the way that I did. It was it was very easy for them to kind of help push me to stop. They had stopped a few years before, and that helped my transition as well. But it doesn't make it any easier, man. I feel like something dies when you retire because your whole identity is wrapped up in being a player. Everybody knows you as a player. That's the only thing you're associated with. So your parents know you as that, your professional athlete's son, your siblings know you as that, whether they like you or not is something different because they may be jealous or whatever. You have everybody, every single person, you're that professional athlete person for them, or you're the athlete in the family. And when that's taken away from you, you don't know what to do next. You don't know.
It's hard.
It's really hard. And it took me about a year, I'd say, before I kind of got out of that funk where I was feeling a little bit depressed, but don't really know you're depressed until you can look back. When you look back on it later, you're like, I was pretty sure I was depressed. And so it took me a while, man. It was a lot of tears, a lot of crying, a lot of talking and trying to figure it out. I didn't go to a therapist. I wish in hindsight I would have. I think it's important sometimes to have somebody outside of your bubble that you can just kind of be yourself without being judged. Yeah. So, that might have been something I did different, but it's a valuable experience. And now that I've kind of lived through it and created another career for myself, it gives me a lot of confidence that I can, if this media stuff ends, I can just dust myself off and figure out what's next and not have to stress about it as much.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously going back a decade, on July 7th, 2005, I'm pretty sure you remember this date, your debut with the United States versus Cuba and the Gold Cup. If you could talk to us about, your debut, singing the national anthem and everything.
Yeah, that was really special. I didn't have any family or friends there because, and mainly I just didn't know if I was going to start or not. I didn't think I'd start the first game of the whole tournament. I thought he was going to rely on guys that he trusted, I'd say, trusted more than me because I was pretty new. That was my first cap. But he kind of flipped it around to keep everybody on their toes. So I thought I was going to start game 2, and I started game 1, and I was fired up. But I was also very nervous. I was so nervous that I was shaking before the game. Wow. It's something I had worked for a very long time. I didn't know if I'd ever get the opportunity. So when it finally came, it was really special. I don't even remember how many people were in the stands. I know they were there. I don't think it's sold out or anything, but it was a big thrill. I will say it was Clint Dempsey's first cap as well, and he ended up scoring, which was very cool, and he did it in Seattle where he ended up ending his career. So there's a nice couple narratives there. We didn't know that at the time, of course, but the funny thing is we went down 1-0. And I could not believe it. I'm like, my first cap, we're going to lose to Cuba, 1-0. Thankfully, we scored right before halftime, which took a little bit of the pressure off. And then, we made some adjustments, and we ended up wearing them down. I think we won 3 or 4-1. I thought I played pretty well, all things considered. And that Bruce Arena, the coach at the time, put me in a position that was similar to what I ended up playing in the World Cup a year later. So it was a really good thing for me. That whole tournament was very good. To be around the coaching staff for a month, 5 weeks, was really important for me because I think you can tell I'm a high personality guy. And I think if you just brought me in for a World Cup qualifier and the stakes are very high during World Cup qualifiers, you only show up like 3 days before a game because guys are coming from Europe and you don't have as much time to win the coaching staff over. They're so focused on the game. They're not worried about how this one player might interact with another. But when you're in a big tournament like that, and you're around each other for a couple weeks before the tournament starts, and I had the January camp, a couple months earlier, I got to really, I think, win the coaching staff over about what my personality is, and the fact that I didn't go in expecting to start. I never went into the national team thinking I deserved to start or any of that stuff. I always went in going, I'll play any role they want me to play. I just want to be on the national team.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously from the various games that you played with the national team, which one was the best game with the United States and which one was the hardest?
That's a good question. I would say the best game was probably the U.S.-Italy game in the World Cup. I came in, I wasn't even expected to be on the team, but I came in, I got to play and hold my own. Yeah. So that was probably a special game for me, and a game that people still talk to me about, almost 15 years later, because we didn't play very well in the first game, and it was a nice sign of redemption. Obviously, Italy went on to win the World Cup, and they didn't beat us, so, and we went down a guy, and it was pretty special. Yeah. The hardest game was probably, there's two. I'd say the Ghana game, the following one. We needed to win to go through. And I thought we got hosed a little bit. It was a hard game. I thought Ghana was a good opponent, and I thought we deserved a draw in that game, I think, all things considered. Yeah. But there was a game in March that I was still trying to get and fight on the team, March 2006. So I was still in the bubble, didn't know if I was going to go to the World Cup or not. And we played against Germany in Germany, and it was 0-0 at half, and it was hard, man. Those guys were excellent, and we just didn't maintain a lot of the ball. And I'm sure anybody that that's played can relate, where you just play that game and you just can't get a grip of the game. You're never really in control.
Yeah.
And it sucks because you just feel like you're reacting and you're chasing the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And even that, despite that, it was still 0-0 at half, and the Germans got booed off the field because we played where Borussia Dortmund plays, the Westfalen Stadion.
Wow.
And amazing stadium, yeah. But they got booed off the field, and Jurgen Klinsmann was coaching Germany at the time. He was under a lot of pressure.
Uh-huh.
And they needed a result, and we ended up losing 4-1. We gave up 4 goals in the second half.
Wow.
It wasn't my best performance. I thought I might have played myself off the team. I was dealing with hernia surgery, so 2 weeks after that game, I flew back to Germany to get this somewhat controversial hernia surgery that gets you back in 2 weeks or something crazy, which ended up working out for me, but that's a longer story. And so that game for me was really tough, and I remember flying home with Brian Ching, who also was on the bubble, and we both just started laughing and like just had a beer, like, well, there goes our national team careers, you know. And but I remember crying after that game and just going back into my room and crying because I thought that was it. I thought I took that chance, even though that I was hurt. I wasn't 100%, but I took that chance, thinking I needed to show and prove myself against one of the world's best teams to show the coaching staff that I was worth taking to the World Cup. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't own it. You know, I got a little gun shy, and I was a little cautious of not getting beat in a really obvious way, so that the coaching staff goes, well, Jimmy can't run, or, you know, he's not fast enough, or whatever it is. And I lost a little bit of my aggression because of that. I was trying to be safe and smart, and a little bit conservative in my approach, as opposed to kind of the, you know, fly by the seat of my pants, super aggressive, like making it hard for anybody to beat. I just didn't have that spark, and I think it was just the weight of being injured and the pressure, of course. Yeah. So I thought that was it. So that was a really tough game for me personally, but it all worked out, and I got to prove myself at the highest level, and I'm really proud of my career. For sure.
The biggest trash talker on the field that you ever played against?
God, good question. Trash talker. I would say Carlos Ruiz that guy was something special, man. I miss playing against him because I thought he added a level of entertainment to the game. You know, whether it was antics off the ball or, I mean, guy scored tremendous goals for the Galaxy for many years. Yeah. And then for FC Dallas, you know, he just was a good player, smart. I mean, we're friends now, but he was always a tough bastard to play against. And I don't know if he would talk so much, but his antics were always antagonistic. He was always looking to get you in trouble, you know, or kick you when nobody's looking. And he would expect it in return. That's what I loved about him, I think. Yeah. But he kind of led you into those interactions. Mm-hmm. So I always thought he was one. There was another guy, Mamadou Diallo, who played for Tampa Bay at MLS a long time ago. Uh-huh. But he grabbed my junk once during a game, and that was not appropriate, obviously. So, you know, so you have obviously different guys have different styles. Yeah. I remember Jared Borghetti from Mexico. He was talking trash to me one time during a game. Mm-hmm. I missed, and he was fair in this one. I did really well to like bring this ball under control, under some pressure, kind of read a pass. Mm-hmm. And one of our guys made a great run off the ball, off the back shoulder. And all I had to do, I had like a 10-yard square. All I had to do was play in that 10-yard square. Yeah. And the guy would have been through on goal against Osvaldo Sanchez. Mm-hmm. And I just missed that 10-yard square. I was under a little bit of pressure, but I had enough time to hit that. And I know I'm capable of it. And it wasn't that hard of a pass. Mm-hmm. And so when I missed it, I kind of shanked it and it went wide. And actually went out of bounds, I think. Borghetti started laughing at me and talking trash, you know. And at that point, I was kind of pissed. I ended up scoring. It was named man of the match. So I wish I could have just gotten to his face afterwards. But, and just, you know, give him one of these, you know, keep talking, buddy. But he was right, actually. I should have made that pass. So I kind of agree with him. Now I agree with him. Then I was kind of embarrassed. Yeah, for sure. And then obviously in the 2006 comes about, you make the World Cup roster. You play against Italia, where you guys tie 1-1. You played 90 minutes versus Ghana, but talk to us about, you know, how you felt playing at the highest level from a little kid from Arcadia, California, you know, representing your nation, you know, like how was that experience? Well, you mentioned that before with like hearing the national anthem. You know, it's special to hear the national anthem when you represent your national team. And it was prior to the World Cup, but to hear it in a World Cup was something incredibly different. And I wasn't even starting that first game against Czech Republic of the group. Mm-hmm. Where we ended up losing 3-0. One of the best performances I've seen from a national team that played against us. That was a tremendous performance by them. But hearing the national anthem then, for that first World Cup game, when everybody's so excited and the hype is real and nobody knows what's going to happen, and and everybody's singing it to the top of their lungs. You can see where the U.S. fans are sitting and singing. Yeah. It was amazing, man. I still get goosebumps just thinking about it. And I just couldn't at that moment, even though I wasn't playing, I couldn't believe I was there. I couldn't believe I was, on the team for a World Cup. And then you kind of go through phases because there's 5 days between every World Cup game. So then you start, you kind of get that out of your system. We didn't play particularly well. I hope I can maybe be a part of the second game against Italy. And, we got a guy that surprisingly got a second yellow right after halftime, Eddie Pope. Oh. And I went in. They called my number, and I didn't even need to warm up, man. I went from 0 to 1,000 right away. I was so excited. And I think actually, given how I am, I can get into my own head sometimes in terms of preparation and overthinking. That was probably the best situation for me to go into a World Cup game where I didn't have time to think about anything. I just had to know who I was marking. Okay, who's coming out? What's our formation? What kind of information am I getting from the coach with regard to how we're going to shift and shape now that we're 10 versus 9? Yeah. And it was awesome, dude. I had the best time. I thought the Italy game was amazing. Now, what's funny is when you fast forward to the Ghana game, I knew I was going to start that one. And a couple days prior, I had one of my worst practices ever for the national team. And a lot of that was due to the fact that I just was so nervous because I had time to think about it, and 10 minutes into the game, I felt like I was still maybe kind of in that playing against Germany mode where I was playing safe as opposed to playing like I normally play, playing aggressive, playing with confidence. And I just think it took about 10 or 15 minutes in the Ghana game for me to snap out of it and just play, man. Yeah. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen, but just play. Don't go home and regret not playing. Exactly. Not going home and just playing safe. Go out and play and make it hard for them and be proud of how you perform. You make a mistake, but at least it wasn't due to you not trying. I think there's this weird gray area of really going for it and trying, and then that something below that where you're doing just enough, but you're not putting yourself in yourself in risky situations. And so it took me about 10 or 15 minutes to kind of click out of that, because what I love about the World Cup is that you have no time to think about what just happened. You always have to think about the next play. Yeah. So when you move up the ladder, right, when you're in high school, the ball goes out of bounds. It takes 3 minutes for it to get back. The game's pretty slow. It takes people a while to make decisions. You don't know that at the time because that's the level Yeah. But then as you get into college, everybody's a little bit quicker. Decisions, there's still some mistakes and all that. Through the World Cup level, nobody makes mistakes, and you don't have any time to worry about the next play because the play is just the last play, because everything is so fast, and I love that. I love every part of it. I could play in those types of games all the time, so I can understand why that's addicting for the guys that get to play in the Champions League on a regular basis and for the top clubs. But it was great. It was an incredible feeling and a real sense of accomplishment, because as you mentioned, I was a walk-on, undrafted kid that worked his way up. So to kind of push through and fight through all the clutter and all the politics and prove myself at the highest level and to hold my own against some of the best in the world is something nobody can ever take away from me, and that's something I'm really proud of.
Exactly. What's your favorite memory that you still hold with yourself today from that World Cup?
Well, so my favorite memory, I think maybe the best story of the whole thing, is that there were 4 guys on my Kansas City team that were all kind of on the bubble or on the list to go to the World Cup in 2006. And 3 of us, me, Josh Wolf, and Eddie Johnson, all got on the team, and the 4th guy, Kerry Zabagdin, did not. And he was 30, I think, 31 at the time, so he was gutted. That was it. His national team career was going to be over at that point. And he, when you get named to the team, there's still 2 or 3 weeks that you're with your club before you leave for the pre-World Cup camp. So I asked him, the 3 teams we're playing. If there's any player on these 3 teams where I could get their jersey for you, who would it be? And so he said Andrea Pirlo. I said, well, that's a great choice. I love Andrea Pirlo too. So after the game ended against Italy, all the players were shaking hands, and because it was such an incredible night, just the energy around it. Everybody was super positive afterwards. They were very impressed with us for our fight and our desire to get a result, even though, they had the horses on paper 11v11, but even with a man up, they couldn't score against us, So there was a lot of respect there going both ways, and so they were willing to trade jerseys. Well, I knew who I wanted to get, but Alessandro Del Piero, who's a legend, dude, he comes up to me and he asks if he wants to change jerseys. Wow. And I waved him off because I said I'm going to go get Andrea Pirlo.
Oh, what? You waved him off?
Dude, I don't know, man. I mean, because, I wanted to get that jersey for my teammate, So But yeah, to this day, I can't believe I waved off Alessandro Del Piero. But I went and got Pirlo's jersey to finish up the story. And I saved it. And when I got home, I gave the jersey to my teammate.
Wow. Great story, huh? And great gift for him as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you want to hang that up, but it's kind of weird. I gave it to him, and I know he appreciated it. I'm sure he still does to this day. But I'm sure when he looks at it, it's a sign of, that reminds me of when I didn't make the World Cup team, So I wonder about how that impacts him.
For sure. And did you exchange jerseys with other players after that game or no? Or just
I did not. No, I only had Pirlo's. I mean, I wish. So I don't have an Italian national team jersey. I wish I did, but I do have a great story. So that's cool. And then the Czech Republic, I didn't play, so I didn't change jerseys with anybody because I didn't have one on me.
Yeah, Ghana.
And then the Ghana one, I changed with Mensah, who was like the captain of the team. Yeah, the center back.
Wow, for sure. And obviously, you played various games against Mexico, possibly in the Azteca. If you could talk to us about, the environment, the rivalry with Mexico, and the fans are crazy.
Yeah, I love it. I can't get enough. Anytime we play against Mexico or any of the Latin American countries, I played a World Cup qualifier in Guatemala City. They're throwing all kinds of stuff at us, making noise. I played against Saprissa in Costa Rica for the CONCACAF Champions League.
Yeah.
I love that people are going out of their way to try to throw you off your game.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up in those environments. I grew up, like a paycheck to paycheck family, but, in a pretty comfortable suburbia kind of life.
Yeah.
I didn't get exposed to that type of atmosphere. I didn't get to go to games either where I was a fan for that. It just didn't really exist.
Yeah.
So when I saw it, I love it. Like if somebody wants to take the time to throw something at me, I was like, sweet. I mean, as long as it doesn't hurt me, but I love that there's that kind of juice on the game. And I remember we were in Trinidad and Tobago for a World Cup qualifier, and somebody called our room at 3 a.m. to try to wake us up the night before the game. I love that, Or we went to where else did we go? We went somewhere else, and they were playing music until 2 a.m. outside our hotel. And I love that kind of gamesmanship. I love that fans are trying to throw you off your game. They're trying to give their team as many advantages as they can to try to win the game. And because it matters that much to them, I always thrived off of it. It wasn't anything that I backed down from.
Yeah.
I wasn't intimidated. And I loved it. The more pressure, the more environment, the more atmosphere, the more that I thought I raised my game.
Yeah.
And then when you throw in Mexico, which is obviously our biggest rival, it just takes that to the next level. I became friends with Cuauhtemoc Blanco afterwards when he played for Chicago and did an all-star game with him. Awesome dude, by the way.
Yeah.
I know he does some crazy stuff now in politics, and he does what he does on TV or whatever, telenovelas or whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
But like when you get him away from all that, he is a sweetheart, And so once you start to learn about these guys as people, I became friends with Claudio Suarez, who I looked up to because he's an excellent center back, And so you kind of strip away all that stuff and you look at them as people, and it is what it is.
Exactly.
But obviously at times when you step on the field, you're out there and you got to represent your country and all that stuff gets set aside. But there's always a mutual respect, I think, between the players. I just think it's easier to build that kind of narrative in the media, and I like the hype. I want it to be hyped up. I want to have important games, and I want to have a rival. So it all is all pretty sweet, and I had never had any problem. And I've been to a couple of U.S. Mexico games as a fan now too, and I love it, man. I mean, as long as all the intentions are good and everybody's just trying to cheer for their team, I don't have a problem. But I mean, if anybody's trying to be a dick or going out of their way to use that game to be a dick, that's not cool. No matter what side you're cheering for, I'm not a fan of that.
Exactly, and then if I'm not wrong, you also scored a goal against Mexico. If you could talk to us about, what went through your head when you scored it, how did you celebrate it? I'm pretty sure you went crazy scoring against your rival.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think what's funny is that at halftime of that game, I sat next to Landon Donovan, and he was taking all the set pieces. And in the first half, all of his set pieces were short. He just wasn't hitting, the big guys at the back post. He wasn't giving us a chance. So, if you play any kind of defending, you're expected to be the first person back.
Yeah.
If the corner kick doesn't go well, if a free kick doesn't go well. So it sucks because you got to run up there 50, 60 yards, and you're not full sprint. But once that ball turns over, you got to be the first one back. So I was kind of pissed because we had 3 or 4 set pieces in the first half where I did that, and he didn't even give us a chance on the ball. I hate that. I didn't even get over the near post guy, So I just said to him, just at halftime, just throw it in the mixer. Just give us a chance at the back post. to try to do something. And so that goal that I scored against Mexico, it's off a corner kick, and he finally puts it in a spot where we can attack it.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I created enough space to get Osorio off of me, and I didn't even need to jump. Osvaldo Sanchez, he didn't put somebody on the back post. You know how sometimes there's two people on each post or one person on each post. And I kind of glanced. I was going to head it back across, given my thing, but when I took a quick glance to see, because I had a good beat on the ball. Mm-hmm. When I saw that nobody was on the post, I'm like, I'm going to go for it. And I just had like the perfect snap header. So I visualized actually scoring against Mexico the night before. I had a thing where I just
knew it.
Like this could happen. You know, I was actually really timing my runs well on even in practice for set pieces, and I thought, all right, you know, maybe this will happen, and I kind of visualized what it would look like, and it ended up happening. And even then, even though I visualized it and felt comfortable with it and whatever, I was so surprised that I scored, and I didn't know what to do with my hands. So my celebration is kind of like this, because I'm like, what do I do with my hands? I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
But I was also running to Landon because we had just had that conversation about, you know, hitting a set piece into the middle like 5 minutes earlier. And so when he did it and we scored, it's hilarious. So there's like that little storyline that's super cool. And and obviously scoring against your biggest rival is a big thrill. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, Jared Borghetti giving me a hard time and trying to talk trash to me, talk down to me. You know, there's a couple layers there that made that goal pretty rewarding.
Yeah, most definitely. And obviously, you know, it took quite some time for the U.S. to get a final, you know, coach. And now they have Berhalter, who's been with the U.S. for like maybe a year and a half, almost 2 years. But in your opinion, Jimmy, you know, being an expert for the U.S. men's national team, is the USA in good hands with Craig Berhalter?
Yeah, no question. I mean, he was a teammate of mine in that Germany game that I referenced earlier, and that was a really hard game for a lot of us. But what I liked about Greg was that he was very clear in his communication, and he had a really clear idea of how he wanted to play. Yeah. Now, sometimes, you know, I don't really feel like how I wanted to play was ever brought into the equation or how we could maybe work best together. Yeah. So I would be frustrated playing with him at times. Mm-hmm. But I'll say this with a grain of salt. Him and I were both competing for the same spot to get on the World Cup team. So, you know, I can understand why there's maybe some competitiveness there from both sides, right? Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I really liked that, or I knew that he would be a good coach because he was a good communicator. I mean, for me, that's half the coaching is just being very clear in your communication, and then your players absorbing that information and being able to execute. Mm-hmm. My only concern after seeing him play is that seeing him manage, was that he's treating the national team as a club team a little bit, and trying to implement ideologies and methodologies that I think you need to be around a club team every day to try to put those in place. And the national team, you just don't have that luxury. You don't have the time to be around the guys for 10 months a year. You get them, you know, you see them for a week, maybe less, you know, for a couple big games. You don't have time to say any of that stuff. So for him to try to implement and add playing out of the back with players that weren't brought up that way, it just makes it harder, you know? So I understand what he's trying to do. I just don't think that's the time to do it. I think if you're going to implement that type of style, it's got to start with our youth national teams, the U15 level, and force them to play with it. That way, when they get up to the full team, if they make it,
they know.
Then they'll be very comfortable with what you're asking. But right now, you're asking a lot of players who aren't that comfortable to do a job that they're not necessarily their best at. And so that got me a little frustrated. But I think he's learning on the job. He's very fortunate that way, where they're giving him some time to kind of learn on the job. Yeah. Because I feel like some guys might have already been fired by now if we were in other countries. Yeah. And so, you know, I'm hopeful. I like him. He's a nice guy. And I obviously want the best for the national team. But, you know, I'm hopeful that he learned something from this previous year and a half in charge. And hopefully we're a little bit more clear in how we want to play. I mean, even Zach Steppen, the goalkeeper, came out and said that the team doesn't have any identity. Yep. That's a problem, dude. Yep. You know, this is a guy that's been in your system from day one, played for you at Columbus Crew, right? It's not like this is some unknown player that's just joining the national. He played for Greg at the Columbus Crew, and he's now saying publicly that the national team doesn't have any identity. That's not a good look, you know? So that's something that needs to be addressed. You know, obviously he can talk to the player about that and say, hey, don't say that publicly. But I'm glad he said that publicly because it brings attention to something that's important. Like the team needs to have an identity. Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Could we see Jimmy Conrad compete against Jonathan Brooks, compete against possibly Matt Beasley from the center backs from the United States of America?
No, not anymore. But, you know, at my peak, I think I had a lot of value. I think, you know, what I brought to the table was a lot of grit and determination. And I think really a trust and rapport with the other guys that if they made a mistake or if the team was getting opportunity or giving away opportunities, that I was always going to have their back.
Yeah.
That I was always going to fight and scrap for them, and I didn't care if they made mistakes. I was still going to give them everything that I had, and I think, and I was a good communicator. I tried to put guys into good spots, so they didn't have to run as much, and that, blocking passing lanes and all that type of stuff. And I was a good student of the game and would watch a lot of video and all that. So, I think I definitely can compete with those guys at my peak. But right now, no, I mean, I still work out from time to time. You see me every once in a while doing my thing, but it's more about just kind of staying in shape and I just like touching the ball, and when that's taken away from you, it's kind of sad. Yeah,
most definitely. And before this quarantine came, you were announced the head coach for the SF Glens in San Francisco here in the Bay Area. Apart from being the technical director, they moved you up. How does it feel, to be promoted and be the new coach for the SF Glens?
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility, and I'm honored that they would consider me for the position. Obviously, having a year to understand how it works, what the game looks like from that level, frankly.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I lived it, obviously, as a youth player, going through the club system, though it's a lot different now. And I saw it from the MLS level in college and national team. But this is something different. The fourth division in this country, in a country that's still trying to figure out how this is all going to work together, has been a really amazing experience for me, a good learning experience.
Yeah.
So after going through the process last year, I'm very grateful to the guy that was ahead of me, Javier Ayala. He needed to step away. He's having a new baby, and he got a new job at USF, so we're all really proud of him. But I wanted him to stay on. I wanted us to all kind of continue to work together, because even though he's younger than me, I don't walk into any room and think I can't learn something, especially from people that are kind of living an experience that I might want to be a part of in the future. So I'd always ask questions, and I'd watch them and take notes, and so I'm sad he's gone, but we're still in contact. But I retained all the other staff, and we were excited. We thought we were putting together a good team and really putting things in place that were going to help the Glens continue to grow as a club. And it's unfortunate. I got Coca-Cola and my friends at Coca-Cola Coca-Cola owns Powerade. So Powerade was going to be on the front of our practice jerseys, and they're going to give us all this product. And I was going to talk to Cliff Bar, who are also centered or headquartered. They're actually headquartered here, about potentially being involved. Just building something special and really trying to expose these players to what it means and what it takes to be a professional. Obviously we would give them. We found a new facility that had a weight room and a video room and all this type of stuff that they were going to need and to learn how to grow. I think that's the funniest part is I'll have some of the guys that are on the team or we're trying out want to come talk to me about the videos I make or my social media persona or whatever it is. And I love them for that. I love that they follow me and they think I'm, that I'm doing funny stuff and they're enjoying it. But at that time, I had to tell them,
coach.
Basically I'm a coach. After practice, I am 1,000% happy to talk to you about any of this stuff. All the games I've seen, anybody I've interviewed, any of that stuff. I'll talk to you about my own career, whatever you want. But right now, these 90 minutes of practice or a game, I'm trying to help you become a better player. So I'd rather just focus on that, And so there's a little bit of that buffer. And I think they see a different side of me because I'm pretty serious when I get out there.
Strict.
And I love it, dude. I love coaching. I think it's great. And I have a lot to offer and a lot of experience. So I'm hopeful that they get something out of it as well. And I just thought we put some fun things in place this season that I thought would lend itself to success. And I thought we started to attract a lot of players that were interested in being involved. And not only that, we helped one of our players go get a trial in the second Bundesliga.
Wow.
USL championship. We had a couple guys drafted into MLS from last season. So we feel like we're trying to be a club we're just trying to help you get better and develop, and then we'll push you on. We're not trying to hoard you or keep you and not give you opportunities. We're just a stepping stone. And I really like that for me personally. It's a short season, so that kind of fits in well for what I do in general. Dude, I'm sad it's not going to happen, but it is what it is, and we just build for next year.
Exactly. Have you ever thought about opening an academy, your own academy, possibly Jimmy Conrad Academy?
I have actually. It's the problem with me, Juan, is that I've seen some academies around the world in person that are incredible. And a lot of them they're residency
programs.
I think the best ones are residency academies. So there's one in Ghana. I went to Ghana. I went to Accra before the World Cup in 2014 because they were in our group, and we did like a tour of all the opponents. So we went to Germany and Portugal and Ghana. And when we went to Ghana, there was an academy called Right to Dream.
That's what
it's amazing. It's an amazing academy run by amazing people with good hearts. And they basically find these kids who are in the poorest of poor areas that have shown some ability in the beautiful game. And that ends up being a bit of a gateway for them to get accepted to the school. What happens is there's so much corruption in Ghana. They're trying to, through this school, trying to educate these kids and create good disciplines and habits, and to really show them, hey, these guys are corrupt here, and to really have them understand the system and how they can make the world better, right? And they just use the game as a backdrop. But the game provides so many opportunities. So in the 2014 World Cup, I think on the Ghanaian national team, I think 3 or 4 of the kids were from the Right to Dream Academy.
Wow.
But they put players all over, Manchester City, all over Europe. And then a lot of them go to, if they don't go to like a big academy, some of them will elect to go to like good private schools in America or Europe or other parts of Africa. And the whole point of it is to get these kids to become really well-rounded, super educated, connected people. They can come back and be the leaders of Ghana in the future. I love it. I love the whole program. They just started a girls thing, and it's amazing. But the emphasis and a lot of the thing that drives it, and a lot of how they get a lot of their money to sponsorship stuff, is through the beautiful game, soccer. So when I see things like that, just starting a simple academy doesn't do enough. It doesn't do enough for me. It's almost like that's just the bare minimum. You know, I'm more of if I'm going to do something, I'm going to give it everything that I have. And I would want to build a school, and I'd want to have 4 fields around that school, and I'd want it, you know what I mean? I'd want to have it be really elevated, and that just takes a lot of work. And as a family, you know, I want to obviously still be present for my kids and like, you know, be a meaningful partner for my wife and to be around my family. I mean, that would absorb my whole world. And maybe that's something in the future when my kids get older, but for right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm just kind of focusing on the opportunities that are coming my way at the moment.
Most definitely. Was there someone that you looked up to as a little kid, possibly an athlete, maybe your mom, your dad? But was there someone that you admired as a little kid while you grew up?
Yeah, of course. I think what you end up learning, and I'm sure you can speak to it as well, there are different people that inspire you in different ways. So you look at the work ethic that maybe your parents have. My mom in particular, you know, she was 18 when she had me, you know, so she already had to make some tough decisions. And, you know, I'd be in a lot of babysitters and stuff because she wouldn't get home till, you know, 5:30 or 6.
Wow. You
know, you could just see her work ethic. She wasn't wasting time. She was going there to work and put her time in and do it well. She wasn't college educated. She only had a high school education. So you look at her and her work ethic and you know, taking pride in the little things. And my dad was super talented. He was a musician. But then he taught me about sacrifice. You know, I mean, when I was born, and he was 19 when I was born, you know, he had to give up a really significant potential musical career, because he's a very good drummer, to then get a real job to take care of me, you know. And as you get older, you start to realize the sacrifices that he made. And then you also start to see, I don't want to do what he's doing right now. He's doing drywall, really, you know, hard construction stuff. I would go work with him when I was 13, 14, 15. And it would just make me want to go practice more because I didn't want to do what he was doing. You know, you get a taste of what that looks like. And think that he did that every day for 30 years or whatever. Like, that sounds miserable.
It's tough.
You know, and so you start to learn about his sacrifice and what he did and the choices he made. So, you know, you learn from your parents that way. And then I had a couple of youth coaches that inspired me to, you know, to keep pushing, you know, keep working on my game, that they could see something special in me. They're very, very nurturing. I didn't really run into a coach, thankfully, that was negative. Not till I got to college did I start to run into people that, you're not good enough. What are you doing here? That kind of crap. So the competition changes too. You start to learn there's no time for feelings. Nobody cares about your feelings. You can either play when the whistle blows or you can't, you know, and that's what it ends up getting to. And I think that's a big transition for kids too. But yeah, I mean, and then in terms of like celebrities, it was tough to see games, man. I'm a little bit older, so it wasn't like it was as easily accessible to watch games as it is now. But, you know, I used to read Soccer America a lot. and I had the cutouts of all the U.S. players. So Eric Winalda, Marcelo Balboa, like these guys are friends now, which is really weird for me. But because you still kind of look at them as the guys you looked up to on your wall. But yeah, all those guys that found a way to have success when the sport wasn't that big, all played a role in that. And then you start to see different guys, even people that you compete against. You look up to them because they figured out a way to have success. And then at some point you realize, I want to be better than that person. And then they kind of inspire you to they don't know it, but they inspire you to, I can do what that guy does and I'm going to do it better.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of those guys where you just try to pit yourself against them, and then they kind of have what you want. And then you try to get what they have, and then they probably want what you want afterwards. But it's I don't really have like a straight up answer for that, because there's a lot of different people at different times in your life. I think everybody can relate to that in some way.
Most definitely. A small kid from Arcadia, California, did he ever imagine accomplishing everything that you accomplished in your soccer career?
No, I would say that the World Cup was never on my radar. It wasn't something that I thought was possible until I got called into my first camp. I knew it was getting, even then it felt like a pipe dream, because it was 2005 when I got called in January, and the World Cup was in 18 months. So for me to get on that team, it was going to take a pretty, not to say miracle, but it was going to be a lot of work and a lot of dedication and a lot of playing well to win them over. But thankfully things fell into place, and I knew, like I said earlier, it wasn't about starting. I wasn't trying to go in there to start. I just knew that I would probably be a really good bench player, and that's what I ended up being, and started a few games along the way. And I think my attitude was perfect for it. I didn't feel entitled. I was just happy and grateful to be there, and I gave it everything that I had. So I guess it kind of went along the way. I didn't even think I'd be a pro.
Yeah.
You talk about it, but what does that really mean?
Exactly.
And I was going to say that with the Glens players. A lot of them don't know what it means to be a professional. They don't understand the dedication and discipline that you have to have in almost every facet of your life, that singular focus.
Sacrifices.
To be dude. And that's the hardest thing, I think, for people to understand. But you have to learn it as well. So people can tell you, but you also have to live it and learn it. So that was a big thing, too. And once I won the national championship at UCLA, and I thought, I know the guys that are playing in the league. Well, then you just start to think, I think I can play in the league, too. And I'd watch a lot of MLS games on TV, and I'm like, all right, they're not doing anything that I can't do. Maybe just do it a little bit more consistently than me. So just go work on your game, and keep pushing for those opportunities. You keep knocking on doors, and finally something fell my way. The thing is, I believe everybody will get an opportunity, right? If you're working hard, I think you're going to get an opportunity. The problem is, are you ready for that opportunity when it comes? Because a lot of people are bitter or angry because the opportunity didn't come 6 months earlier, or they're so nervous that they come up with an injury, or they have some. They don't. It's not a conscious excuse. I've dealt with an injury before that was due to stress and pressure, for sure. I can say that looking back, it was a real injury. Like I had a hamstring strain or whatever, but I never got hamstring strains, and so it just felt like it was a lot of stress and pressure. Sorry. So it's are you ready for it? And a lot of that comes down to the mental side, because I do think that those opportunities will come. But it's a matter of whether you're ready when they show up. And that really separates, I think, the good from the great. And the people that actually scale and have success, and the ones that talk about it. Like, whoa, if I just would have stayed with it. Or, I get a lot of that I think about my uncle. He said that a lot. Well, if I just stood still, I would have been a pro. And you're like, if you were going to be a pro, you would have been a pro, man. You would have figured it out. So, we always had a good laugh about that. So I appreciate that.
Most definitely. How many countries have you been to total?
Dude, I don't even know.
Countless, I imagine.
Yeah, I'd almost say all of North America and Central America. I've been to Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Venezuela. So, where else?
Africa?
I've been to Africa, Ghana, and South Africa. I've been to most of Europe. I've been to Australia. Went to Japan this year, so kind of knocked out those two. Went to the Philippines by accident, and stayed an extra day because my flight got canceled and I had to stay there. I don't know, man. 30, 40, 50, I don't know.
Anywhere you want to go?
Yeah, I would love to go to a little bit more to Asia. You know, I'd like to go see India, China, all that stuff. I mean, leaving the virus stuff alone, there's a lot of rich history there and a lot of special, I'm sure a lot of special people that exist and are trying to do cool things. And I just like different cultures. I like, you have to travel to really appreciate it and to see it, you know, and I think it gets you out of your bubble. And I think you come back with a little bit more of a respect for the rest of the world, you know, and what everybody's going through, and have a better understanding. I'd love to go to Northern Africa as well. I haven't seen, you know, like Morocco or Egypt or any of those places. So that would be kind of cool to do that. Switzerland would be kind of cool. I'd just like to see the Alps, you know. So there's a couple places that I wouldn't mind going to check out, but yeah, anytime you can go and immerse yourself in another culture and just walk there and go into it with respect, not like you own the place or, you know, I mean, it's hard because as an American, I think that's just how we roll sometimes. But yeah, it's cool to travel, and hopefully when this virus dies down, everybody has an opportunity to get out there. It's really important to go see another part of the world.
Most definitely. And obviously being in quarantine, what are you doing, you know, to keep yourself busy? I know you have 2 daughters, but like, what if you could tell us, like, how does your day look right now?
Yeah, my day, I wake up, I look at the news. You know, I have a couple of things that I do on social media, whether it's the Soccer Minute, you know, which is, I got to post that in a little bit. Yeah. I did one on the Bundesliga starting first today, and then you know, I do have Coach Jimmy stuff, you know, or I'll do TikToks. I'm on TikTok, or I'll think of something funny for Instagram. I mean, there's plenty of things for me to do that don't necessarily involve a job. However, I do work with La Liga. I do stuff with EA, Coca-Cola, Target, Heineken. Wow. Yeah, a whole bunch of brands that sponsor the sport in this country. And, you know, MLS is trying to get back into it, U.S. soccer and stuff. I'm dealing with Glens stuff as well, because we're trying to get our youth academies into this new MLS development league now that the DA has folded with U.S. soccer. So there's a lot. Yeah. There's a lot going on. I'm not lacking in things to do. I'll say that. And then, you know, I work with my kids and that's fun. And then we go try to exercise or knock the ball around, you know, a couple times a week, and that's fun. And then we get up and we do it all over again. We rinse and repeat. I will say though, every time I get up in the morning, I always have a kind of just smile and say, and we go again. You know, it's just, I'm just grateful. I have an opportunity to get up and try to make a difference today, whether it's in my life or in somebody else's. And that's a cool challenge, man. I think sometimes we forget about that, but and I have to remind myself as well. But it is really neat to be able to be alive, obviously, and then to try to make a difference. So I try to see it in that light.
To finalize
pick your favorite. Okay.
To finalize the interview, Jimmy, if you could talk to us about, you know, what starting 11 would you want to have from all the legends that have played? Like, what's your favorite starting 11?
Man, oh, this is crazy. This is a good one. And now, am I involved to be? I assume I'm in the 11.
If you want yourself, you can.
Well, I don't know. I didn't know if you're like if I'm building an 11 around me or like the best 11 of all time.
Well, whatever you want.
Ah, man. Okay. I would probably go with Casillas in goal. I would probably, you know, it's either between Buffon or Casillas, but I'll have other Italians, so I'm going to go with Casillas.
Yeah.
My two of my defenders would be Paolo Maldini and Alessandro Nesta. Those guys are beasts.
Yeah.
And so to play against Nesta was very cool. He was marking me on set pieces in the World Cup, and I played against Buffon as well, which was really neat. I might even go Maldini in the center with Nesta, and then put Roberto Carlos on wide left. And Cafu wide right.
Wow.
Two guys that'll be bombing forward, but they have the athleticism to get back into the play.
Yeah.
So this is a tricky one for me because everybody knows that Andrea Pirlo is my Lord and Savior, and I have a history with him and played against him and all that stuff. I as much as I see his value, you know, I love N'Golo Kante as well. Claude Makelele, I don't think gets the love and respect that maybe he deserves.
Yeah.
You know, so it'd be one of those three guys right now. I got to think about that for defensive midfield.
Yeah.
Kind of holding it down. Yeah, this is so tough.
Yeah.
I love Xavi and Iniesta, so I probably have them both.
Yeah.
You know, running the show in the middle.
Yeah.
Then you have Messi and Ronaldo on either side, and up
Which
top,
one?
R9 Ronaldo up top, who I played against him.
Yeah.
God, it's hard to leave Zidane out, you know.
Ronaldinho.
Yeah, Ronaldinho. I mean, that's tough, dude. I mean, that's where it gets. I mean, the Messi Ronaldo ones are pretty easy. R9 Ronaldo for me is the best number 9 to ever play.
Yeah.
So that would be 3. I guess I'm in a 4-3-3. I mean, you almost want to leave Pirlo out.
Exactly.
I mean, this team would never lose the ball, so it's not like you never really need to be protecting the back four.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Makalele, though. Just a lot of those guys do the thankless, dirty work, you know?
Yeah.
I just did a big thing on Marco Senna, who played for Villarreal for a long time.
Yeah. Dude,
that guy was a beast. But just did the little things, man, that made the team go.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Xavi, Iniesta. I mean, Xavi Alonso is sick, too. You know, he's another guy that can play.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many guys. I would say, Zidane, though, so smooth, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess if you had peak Ronaldinho and Xavi and Iniesta,
it's over.
Woo, dude, with Messi, Ronaldo, and R9 Ronaldo, is stupid, dude. That's stupid. That's a stupid team, dude. And you're leaving out. So say I leave out Zidane, which feels blasphemous. You still have like Rivaldo. I got to play against Rivaldo like 4 or 5 months ago in a 5v5 game. It was amazing. That guy's ridiculous. And Danielson. It was awesome.
Wow.
So those guys can play. They're big dudes.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go. I'll add some flair. I'll get Ronaldinho in there. It's all good.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of Barcelona guys. But a solid back four. And I love Maldini and Nesta. I think those guys are legit. And obviously 2 Italians. You can't go wrong defensively with those guys.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy, for your time. I really do appreciate it. I wish you the best for you and your family, to stay healthy and everything. And hopefully this quarantine can end soon. We want the MLS. We want to see soccer. We want to see sports, because it's boring being at home, But thank you so much, and God bless you and your family.
All right. Thanks, Juan. I'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching my video. If you guys could share it with your family members and friends, that would be much appreciated. To all the people around the world who watch my videos, thank you so much. If you could like and subscribe to my channel, I would love that a lot. Until next time, thank you.